Auburn has now lost multiple projected starters for next year. Are things okay?
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Lindsay, Crosby of the Barn, Auburn.com, as well as several other places hanging out with us as he does every Monday. This month is going to be insane. We'll discuss what else could happen before the start of the new year and the portal opening, as well as, okay, there's been a lot of names reportedly planning to enter the portal from Auburn's roster. Who makes an impact, who doesn't? But let's start with now two guys that I would have said, hey, if you write out the depth chart right now, Zach, write out the depth chart for 2026. Who do you have starting? DeAndre Carter and Malcolm Simmons. Reports have broke that they both intend to enter the transfer portal when it opens on January 2nd. Malcolm Simmons, I'm not blown away and shocked by that one. Do I think it's impactful? Do I think Malcolm Simmons is a talented wide receiver? Yes, absolutely. DeAndre Carter, a guy who kind of has sat and waited and then was slated to really compete for a starting interior offensive lineman spot next year, Lindsay. News broke yesterday that he plans to enter the portal. This one actually is the most surprising of all so far. DeAndre Carter planning to enter the portal.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't love when you hear a guy in Alex Golesh kind of talk about doing stuff in the trenches and all of that, and then losing somebody from those same trenches. Like, I think that's what bothers me the most about this, is it's not like that's been a position of strength for Auburn in a while. Small sample sizes, it's not necessarily significant. He was the highest rated pass blocker on the offense last year.
How many snaps did he have? You have that in front of you?
Like 26. It was not a ton of snaps, but the point is, he was the highest rated blocker. And so it's just like,
I mean, he was in the plans, right? Now the plans change, right? Because you've got new people driving the ship, and that's exactly what you needed. And look, if this was an Alex Golesh decision, I trust him. I am surprised with the decision, though, because DeAndre Carter was one of the more coveted interior offensive linemen when he was coming out. And we heard a ton of buzz about him this past offseason. But yeah, DeAndre Carter, I'm not expected to be on this roster next year. And of course, once again, I say this pretty much every time we do a show on portal stuff, the semantics of this, these reports that are coming out are not them entering the portal. They are plans of the intent to enter the portal. You cannot enter the portal until January 2nd. So worth noting, these guys are not in the portal. They are planning to enter the portal. Another guy, like, I don't think this one is as impactful, but it is interesting. They both happen the same day, or the reports happen the same day, is Favour Edwin, offensive lineman, lower ranked. He was more of a guy that they took in a weaker tackle class who, I mean, Alabama made a strong push for him late. I think there were other established SEC schools that made a push for him late. Regardless, this was kind of a guy that was seen as a project. Put him in your weight room, develop him for a few years, and then see what happens. Not concerned about Favour Edwin leaving. I don't know if I'm really concerned about DeAndre Carter leaving, but that is the biggest surprise to me so far.
Yeah, Favour Edwin started playing football for the first time in spring of 2023. One of those, like, he's from Nigeria, he played basketball, and he was just so big and strong. They were like, let's try you over there. But we've seen that profile work for Auburn in the past, though. Prince Tega Winogo was, a converted from some other sport in high school after coming over from Africa and did all that. So I think the frustrating part here is just the same thing. It's a position you don't have a ton of options and a ton of depth. And so losing guys out of that room doesn't necessarily help. Now with Favour, he definitely wasn't going to be a guy you counted on probably next year either, but still a situation where you don't have a ton of options. But to your point, I mean, he did have a lot of different offers from a lot of places. It's just now you got to replace him somehow. And losing 3 stars not the worst thing in the world, but he was also a person who knew the program, who, was well liked from what I understand. And you got to go out and you got to add more guys to that room. And it's just now having to replace 2 guys, including one who you thought could be a starter next year. Does that dilute the money you have to fill other positions on the roster? Like, how much do you have to devote to the offensive line now? I think is the big concern for me, because you're having to replace both a potential starter and depth options. And that could potentially get pricey.
Yeah. So just looking at the offensive line real quick, and then we'll get to Malcolm Simmons in a moment.
Yeah.
Because my stance on that has changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But Connor Lew, like, we're assuming he'll go. Keldrick Falk over the weekend made his graphic and announcement of saying he's going to go to the league. We haven't seen Connor do that yet as we record this Sunday night, Lindsay. So we'll see. Does that injury impact that decision? I mean, honestly, for his sake, I hope not. But to act like it will have zero impact, I think would be a little silly. So we'll see what happens with Connor Lew. Xavier Chaplin is also interesting. If I had to guess, I would say that Chaplin enters the portal. If I had to guess today, I would say that it's more likely for him to enter the portal than not, but we'll see what happens there. And then you've got a lot of younger guys like Seth Wilfred. Tyler Johnson's a guy that we've talked about a ton. Dylan Cinda is a guy that I feel like we've talked about him for forever.
Broderick Shull.
Sure.
Yeah. It's kind of where I am with it too. Ty Buster, I believe, is out there at tackle.
They like Ty Buster a lot in spring. Yep. For sure.
But you're probably looking at, I mean, you need 2 guys at least that can start, if not more. If you think about Jeremiah Wright is going to be gone, you may, if you bring back Lou, you probably still need 2 starters. If
you might need more than that. Dylan Wade's gone, Jeremiah Wright's gone, Mason Murphy's gone, too tall. Right. So yeah, I
forgot about Xavier Miller. Yeah, you probably need 3 or 4 starters right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very similar to what they did early on with the previous regime in the portal. I mean, they're going to have to absolutely reload at offensive line. So a lot of guys entering, or reports coming out that they're planning to enter the portal. Malcolm Simmons is one that I went live right after it happened because it's definitely the biggest name. But as the weekend went on and I thought about it a little bit more, Lindsay, and just kind of read more about the situation, my opinion on it's changed a little bit. And I don't know if my opinions changed. I just think I was pretty raw when I reacted to it when the news broke on Saturday. So I want to discuss that again now that I'm a little more level-headed, if that's okay. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Aura Frames. Can you imagine having somebody on your Christmas list that you're trying to buy stuff for, Lindsay, a family member, and being stumped of not knowing what to buy them?
For me personally, I know auraframes.com is out there, and I know that the Locked On Podcast Network has me covered with a discount there. So, like, the Carver Matte frames, come on. I am set. Everybody in my family, guess what? You're getting one, you're getting one, you're getting one.
Yeah, I mean, you get $35 off with Prode College. Look, they're the best frames out there. We've given them before they were sponsors. My family has some. Our parents have some. It's great for uploading pictures of the grandkids is kind of what our intent was, and they've been a hit. They've been a hit for sure. So for a limited time, save on this perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver Matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code COLLEGE. That is auraframes.com, AURA frames.com. Use promo code COLLEGE to get that $35 off. And of course, terms and conditions apply. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Kia Autosport of Columbus. Look, if you're in the Auburn Opelika area, if you're in the Atlanta area, I don't care where you are, find a way to get to Columbus, Georgia. Go see them right off of Whittlesey Boulevard in Columbus, our friends at Kia Autosport Columbus. And of course, you can browse their inventory online, KiaAutosportColumbus.com. Mention, hey, I heard about you guys on Locked On Auburn. That's $500 off any new Kia right there.
That may be the greatest the greatest dollar discount on the Locked On Podcast Network. And that's brought to you by Zach.
You're welcome. You're welcome on behalf of Kia Autosport Columbus. Also, any new Kia tires for life? Are you kidding me?
In this economy?
Are you kidding me?
Jeez. Can you imagine having to pay for tires? Not
go
a Kia
check out our
Autosport
friends at Kia Autosport, Kia Autosportcolumbus.com, and go see them in person right off of Whittlesey Boulevard. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. I mean, an eventful pre-portal period for the Tigers. I mean, we knew Damari Austin was going to enter the portal. Antonio Coleman, Caleb Wheatland, Perry Thompson, Amon Lane Gaines, Horatio Fields, Hollis Davidson, Malcolm Simmons, Favour Edwin, DeAndre Carter. It's been loaded. Malcolm Simmons, I think him entering the portal stinks because of how dynamic he is. I mean, we saw what Malcolm Simmons could be all season long. We saw it in the last 2 games of the year. And unfortunately, that's really the only time that we got to see Malcolm Simmons be great in an Auburn uniform. And that stinks. That stinks 100%. But the fact of the matter is you can find more Malcolm Simmonses in the portal. And also, I don't know how many of those guys, Alex Golesh is going to be able to use consistently. I hope it's a ton. But the fact of the matter is, there's been so many of these guys, and I said this going into the portal or going into this pre-portal part of the offseason, I guess, is look, over the past few years, there have been guys that we have been overpaying, that we have been paying too much, and we're going to see them leave, and it's going to stink. But it makes most sense for the football team. And we have to assume Malcolm Simmons is part of that. Heck, DeAndre Carter could be part of that. Lindsay, I mean, to come over from California, I mean, he was a guy that never really wavered once he committed to Auburn. There might be a chance of that, is because, we were paying more than anybody else would be willing to. There's a chance that all of that is part of it. So it stinks that Malcolm didn't have more explosive games like he did in the last 2 games of the season. But with this new era, you gotta make sure that level of production is compensated appropriately. And if this new staff came in and say, hey, the number 3/number 4 receiver was getting paid this, that's too much, I don't have a good argument of saying that they're wrong.
Yeah, it was a guy that was really kind of underused by the previous staff. He played 365 snaps this year. 112 of them were in the final 2 games. He just barely saw the field. I mean, and it wasn't just like a thing, like a blowout thing. Missouri, 10 snaps,
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, 19 snaps. He just didn't see the field a lot. And so
those are offensive snaps.
Those are all offensive snaps. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just one of those things that, at a certain point, I mean, you're not using him. Would the new staff have used them in this offense? I don't know. But I'm assuming the fact that they were willing to move on meant that they didn't think the combination of how they would use him and what he was being paid for that made a lot of sense. And I think that's the part that's going to be hard for a lot of fans. And I struggle with this too up front, to understand about player movement now. It's not necessarily this guy would have been great in your offense, you need to keep him. It's this guy would have been great may have been great in your offense, but at what cost? And what can you get in the meantime? Knowing you have to reload severely on the offensive line, you probably needed to redirect that money from Malcolm Simmons to the offensive line.
O-line, D-line. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be some expensive positions that Auburn needs to fill. Maybe quarterback.
Where would I go to get any sort of content or information about the possibility of a transfer quarterback, Zach? Where would I hear something like that?
Here?
Yeah. Locked On
Okay.
Auburn.
Yeah. You just want me to plug the show? That was
the softball.
Yeah, Locked On Auburn.
Yeah. There you go.
All of this is so strange because, I mean, you talk about the Braves every day on your show, or if you listen to a Locked On NFL show or whatever it might be, whenever it's the offseason and we're talking contracts and trade candidates, or is it worth re-signing this player or extending them or picking up an option? All those numbers are public. And so we all can collectively make our opinions on, okay, this is the number if this happens. And then we all can make our opinion on if it's worth it or not.
Mhm.
This, we're just kind of having to guess.
Yeah.
Which is
That's the hard part here.
wild.
It's no
It's just
published information.
so strange.
Yeah, it's if we knew what these guys were making, we could come to you and say, here's what you paid per catch, right? Like a big thing in Major League Baseball, we've been talking about a lot this winter over on Braves Today, is like the dollar figure per WAR. For a guy to be above average, to get one win above replacement in free agency, it's like $11 million. Like we know how much it costs to get a guy who's one WAR better than the average player. In college, we have no clue. And the hard part is the only bit you really hear about this is when you hear some mad, angry coach who lost a player throw out some made up number and say teams were offering him $10 million. And it's like,
yes, I know they weren't. No,
there's a lot of context there. Yeah, it was not $10 million,
Yeah.
So that's the hard part here. The information discrepancy. I hate that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the reported numbers are higher than what's actually happening, but it's still higher. It's still a high number. And you've got a guy who's going to come in and they're going to have to replace a lot. We talked about this one show last week where we needed to expect certain things to happen. So like the storyline last offseason was how great of a job we did maintaining guys on the roster. And we still lost over 20 guys to the portal, but it's who you lose, right? And we're already at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're already at 10. We're already at 10 and the portal's not even open yet. Now, I do think a lot of this is going to be decided before the portal opens, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't expect. I didn't expect it to be this public. I thought we would at least pretend that we weren't tampering, but we don't even seem to care. We don't even seem to care.
Nobody cares about tampering anymore, except for the coaches who lose their players. They're the ones who complain about tampering.
I thought we would just see all these guys enter on the second with like a no contact tab. It's like, oh no, well, like, okay, great, cool, whatever.
I'm just waiting for the announcement of like this player's expected to transfer to X on January 2nd. Like,
I mean, some of these guys that have entered the portal for Auburn, I'm like, yeah, there's a pretty good feeling of where they're going, but it's just like, that's not really out there yet. I want that tweet from the National Reporter that says this guy is going here or is expected to go here on January 2nd. Like, yeah, which is interesting. What's next for this crazy month? And I also want your opinion on some of these names that are planning to enter on January 2nd, according to reports, and how it could impact Auburn. Let's jump into that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. NFL Sundays move fast. Boy, that second half yesterday ruined me. Absolutely ruined me. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. I hope some of you guys took Buffalo Bills money line at halftime yesterday, because goodness gracious, was that heartbreaking. At least that would make me feel a little bit better that some of you guys made some money. And that's what the live betting's about. That's what the live betting's about, is you can kind of react in real time as the game and the momentum shifts. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Lindsay Crosby, our guest, every single Monday. Of the names that are reportedly entering the portal, Damari Austin, Antonio Coleman, Caleb Wheatland, Perry Thompson, Amon Lane, Gaines, Horatio Fields, Hollis Davidson, Malcolm Simmons, Favour Edwin, and DeAndre Carter. Which of those do you feel like is the most impactful? Not like the most shocking or anything like that, but the most impactful.
I really feel like we've talked about it a lot. I kind of feel like DeAndre Carter, simply because of the position you're in. He wasn't experienced enough to say that he was a starter, but
correct.
You were going to need at least one guy who was in essence a glorified backup this most recent year you were going to need one of them to step into a starting role. And he made as much sense as anybody else. Like, he made a lot of sense to be the one who stepped up into a starting role. I still maintain, if you believe that he'd be willing to move to tight end, that Perry Thompson would also be a big loss. But from the frame perspective, being 205, I don't necessarily know if that would have worked. If you put 20 pounds on him, you're still a little small for tight end. But
yeah, the receivers are interesting because you're losing so much at one position with Malcolm, Horatio, and Perry. Are all those guys replaceable? Yes. And I was told that Horatio and Perry were told that they're not great scheme fits. I was told that. So take that for what that's worth.
Yeah.
So like I don't think that one is one that caught the staff off guard. And I'm not saying that Malcolm's decision caught the staff off guard, but
right. Plus the whole money situation with that. Like, that's why I think, I mean, those were Perry and Malcolm were two very highly regarded recruits. You have to presume they cost a lot. I don't think this is super impactful, but I am a little bit surprised by Hollis Davidson saying, like, a tight end saying, I don't want to play in an Alex Golesh offense. I'm assuming he was told, or he was kind of like, they let him know that he maybe wasn't the best fit and he could look somewhere else. If that's not the case, I find it very interesting. A tight end would choose to transfer away from an Alex Golesh offense when that room is so bare after.
I'm going to be honest. I forgot about Hollis Davidson. I'm not even positive of his status because I was talking to folks and they're like, yeah, the only two scholarship tight ends we have right now are Preston Howard and Ryan G. Like Hollis, whenever I talk to people close to Auburn, they never talked about Hollis. So I don't even know what's up with that. I kind of forgot about him, if I'm being 100% honest with you. I know he was battling injury.
Yeah.
And then they tried to get him in. So I don't, that one doesn't shock me. Do you think Malcolm and Perry and Horatio entering the portal is good for Auburn as far as keeping Cam Coleman?
Sorry, I just remembered Hollis Davidson was the guy that was arrested in Peachtree City on the drug charge. That's why he's gone.
Okay.
He was arrested back in August. That's right. I just
I thought something happened there. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't think. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so there you
Which
go.
makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, your question, Perry, Malcolm, and Horatio.
Yeah. Like, do you think that opens up money for Cam? Because I do think, like, when you look at what Alex Golesh did at Tennessee, he had one elite guy, Jalen Hyatt, and then it was a lot of like pieces after that. Now, I'm not saying he's trying to like recreate that perfectly in year one, right? But you did see one guy become a big part of it.
We've seen him build the plane around one elite guy and a bunch of like role situation fit guys next to him.
Yeah. And so I just wonder, like, I'm assuming there's a lot of talk about him bringing two USF receivers with him. And if you bring those two guys in, you have to assume they would be cheaper than those three guys.
Yeah.
And then they already know the system. They're reliable. They can catch passes consistently. They also, if you bring in Byron Brown, which right now, if I had to guess, I think Byron Brown's on Auburn's roster next year. He was USF's quarterback last year.
Yep.
You've already got chemistry with them. And then, you obviously have Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton that you hope to come back.
I was about to say, that's what I was going to ask.
Totally
Eric
fine.
Singleton does have draft eligibility. Like, he can go get drafted if he wants to.
I can't imagine that he helped himself, though, from a draft standpoint last year.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that.
That's kind of how I feel. Is like he I don't feel like he did enough.
But I do think he's drafted. If the goal is just to get drafted, but you might make more in college than you would with Larry getting drafted.
We see that a lot in baseball now. A lot of players will just like, I'll just go back to college, or rather than going pro out of high school, they'll go to college first because they'll make more money.
You'll see these graphics of like, somebody, an elite receivers. It was Jeremiah Smith. I saw a graphic with like Jeremiah Smith's salary, projected guest NIL salary higher than like half the receivers in the league or something crazy like that. So I think Singleton is probably around that million-ish. That's what was reported last year. If you can keep him around that, I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. 5th round picks don't get paid that a year, do they?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. We can check
58
that,
catches for 534, 3 touchdowns. 2 of them came against Ball State, and he broke 100 yards in exactly 1 game. He broke 65 yards twice.
That's crazy. That's so sad because it's not him.
Yeah, it's not his fault. It's a bad offense and a bad quarterback.
Unbelievable. I still can't believe how bad that all was. It sucks so bad. And then you look at what the offense did those last few games. It's just like, goodness gracious, man. What could have been? What a waste. What an absolute waste, man. Yep. All right. Yeah. No, these next few weeks are going to be crazy. These next few weeks are going to be crazy. I mean, how many people do you think leave? I mean, it's got to hit 30, right? If we had 22, 23 leave last year, it's got to hit 30, right?
Especially once some guys from USF who might be coming make their intention known. Like, if you get both those receivers in from USF, what's the incentive for a Cameron King to stay? Like, why would he be here? Some of those depth guys who, we're going to hope to play as they're a little older. Like, are you in danger of a guy like a Sam Turner? If you bring in 2 or 3 transfers ahead of him, does Sam Turner stick around?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard that the staff likes Bryce Kane. So, we'll see what that looks like over the next few weeks. Goodness gracious, it's going to be crazy. Lindsay, Crosby, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
I'm on social media at Crosby Baseball. All of the Auburn baseball stuff at barnauburn.com. A lot of Brave stuff. It's hot and furious right now. They made a couple signings last week. BravesToday.com is the podcast. BravesToday.com is the newsletter. And the Braves Today podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube.
Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.